Our team, welcome back. Thank you so much for the participation yesterday. Hope you found the video. Typically, the video should be available, team, on the YouTube channel, at least for the demo session. So what I did is I've put it up here. I'll also give you the details through an email that I'll send across to everyone. So as per the plan, what we were doing is Python fundamentals yesterday. We didn't really get into prompt engineering, but we were using Colab with Google and the Gemini AI features a little bit, and we made some progress. We did a little bit of practice on it. So today we're going to continue. The intent is to finish remaining a few more topics that we have. Let me get the PowerPoint. I have everything minimized. Too many windows open, team. Okay, I have this. Here's my PowerPoint. I don't need this. There we go. All right, sorry. This is the window where everything was in place. All right, so what we're doing, team, is we still have a little bit more to cover on data structures and file handling, and then we're planning to get into API fundamentals and how we automate them through Python today. The reason this is important is when we create an AI agent, you will notice that a lot of these tools have opened up their endpoints, and you could start automating them for your purposes. So agents which are non-autonomous can be easily created. Once it comes to autonomous, that's something that we will continue to cover in level 2. But our first set, this is what we're going to be focusing on for today. Now, a few more details that I wanted to share with you all. What's there? This is the topics covered. Videos will be there on the channel, at least the demo videos, but for access to all the sessions that we're doing in future, you'll need to have access to the membership only. So if you do not have the membership access, what you can do is once you go to itlearn.com, you go to the membership page for it. I hope it won't sign me as an admin. It did. Where is it taking me? It wants to sign me as an admin team into my account, and I'm not doing that. But Primary Teachable is a service provider that I use. What we did is, and it's a good point or time now to just give you an idea, team. We have combined, bundled all the courses together. There are about 79 courses. Even if you look at some repetitive courses, there are at least 50 odd good courses, all solid on various platforms, various technologies. You can see the list of them all displayed here. A few of the videos for each course will be free. There's also a free membership through which you can get access to some of the available courses. But what you're looking at to do is, if you want to look at the enhanced courses, whatever new content that we're developing and old content, the membership levels are available for you, team. We also will put the project works, how we prepare for career, and all those in the same course content. So that is something you can refer to. It should be to a large extent covering very good basic concepts that are common, but as tools continue to survive, for example, even Java is coming up with some beautiful solutions in the future, we can start upgrading those instead of repeating the whole thing. So it's a good library of content along with other projects, exam certifications, and so on. So you're looking at membership periods. You're looking at maybe a year as a member, or there's also a lifetime member, team. Let me just explain. So there's a free membership. You've got about 10 courses bundled into it. And then the 55 courses bundled in the premium membership. A lot of participants go for the 1-year premium membership. So you can apply the code that I was saying during checkout. So let's say you are enrolling for this. Ting, ting, ting. Just giving a quick one, team, because it may be relevant for a lot of you who's looking at. And put in the discount code that I gave you, 25 off in here. That should apply. So the reason, if you're someone within India or the UK, I would recommend you to reach out to me because there'll be heavy tax of, I don't know why it's not working, but I'll check if that is not correct, why it wouldn't be correct. Created this. I'll check out team, but there's a discount coupon at least that gives you a 25% off that's there currently that you could use. And so if you are looking to pay from non-US or other countries where there's VAT that you're seeing at your end or taxes, reach out to me on an email and I'll assist you with it. Great. So primarily you have your membership and you log into it and you're able to access the content team. So similarly, this JPAC membership. JPAC is also for 1 year, but what happens is a lot of members can't go for 2 years, 3 years, and so on. Somewhere in it, a year is JPAC, where the focus is career. The focus is trying to get our profile in place, our skills more practically aligned through actual project works, something that we can show as well. That becomes your JPAC membership. And then there are lifetime access members team. In fact, in this current session, there are at least about 15, 20 members who are lifetime access. And this is primarily saying that we are not billing you again. You have access to all the content live training as long as we exist. So that should have the same bundle. So 79 courses, 79 courses. So yeah, that's that about how you can get into the membership. What else did I want to say? The project that we're going to talk, I'll talk about it once we do a little bit more advanced team. At least there should be one assignment that will have to go into weekday assignments. Any other questions that are coming to your mind apart from what I just spoke that I need to answer team before we get going into our training session? You're welcome to speak, but I'll suggest if you can put it into the chat. If you'd like to speak, just raise your hand in the live training and I'll start interacting. So live projects is where we'll interact a lot more team. Where I speak not much, you are the one presenting, talking, showing what you're doing. And I'm more like an assistant or someone who's helping you review and say, hey, this is good, or this is something we can do in a different way. When does this training end? So that's again, okay, it's a simple one team. I've divided it into 2 levels, each level being 3 weekends, 6 sessions. So right now we are in level 1. We are looking at March 9th being the last. So 22nd, 23rd, yesterday we did one, today is this, and then we'll meet next Saturday, Sunday, and the Saturday, Sunday after that. So 9th is when we're planning to finish basically all of these concepts that you see. And believe me, team, if you are in the industry and there's something to do with an AI or anything there, definitely the ones that I've identified are very important. There may be tools, technologies that are getting added to it and going away, but yeah, that's something you can look at. Any other questions, please? Yeah, and one of the other things that I'm looking at is Grok from X. That's a good agent as well. All right, let's go, team. Let's go back to our notebook. And as you've observed, we have, let me get only focus on my notebook in a new one. And you're always connected to a team. So that is where there is an amount of disk space being used. At the moment, the current version is free, but I'm sure that as we go into future, it may be commercial, but for now it's good to use. Yes, a lot of you have asked, can we also do it in PyCharm? Can we also do the same in VSS because your projects and work helps? We will get into that team. We'll definitely do something about that. All right, so what all did we do? We did some functions classes. We were playing around with the code, starting at the very beginning. We didn't write much of it, team. Oh, okay, this is a new code. Each one is a new code. So there's a lot that we're doing in this notebook. What I could do is always create a new notebook team. So each notebook becomes like a file that you can open, execute parts of it, and so on. So I'm opening a new notebook and I'll call it PyPandas 2. And today we will do a few more. Let me see, there's some more questions coming in. I have a hand raised as well. All right, hand went down. Where can I find the notes? Guys, again, I'm taking all the notes. The intent is not to keep it with myself, audience. All right. So I will be sharing it with you. For now, remember that if you are subscribed onto the channel, at least you will get the notifications easily, and also to the email updates that I'll send to all the registrants. Pandas too. All right. So what are we doing? What do we want to do? We've done a few things, team, but let's play a little bit more around lists and strings. There is no end to what we can achieve, or rather do with them, but just the fact that at least the basic fundamentals, that this gives me some capabilities, this is what I can do with it, will help us. Let's write some basic codes, team. I know my Gemini assistant will start helping me with the code. uh, if it makes sense, we will take the code that it's being suggesting, like yesterday also we saw. Otherwise we'll do our own code. I want to show you a simple example where we also explore one of the things that we didn't do is a switch case. Let me zoom in. So, and do you need access to this document while we are coding? It'll deviate you from the screen. I'll do it during the break time, team. I'll share this link of the Pandas too. Okay, what is switch case, team? Let's say I want to print if enter a day, say if it is weekday or weekend, simple. That's all we say. So for any uh, programmer, or what we are trying to do is, first we'll take an input, and I'll say, since I may take it as a string, I'll say enter a day. I take the string and I have to compare it with something. I'll say if day is equal to, perfect, a Saturday, or day is equal to Sunday, then I'll say print weekend, and I'll say it's a weekend, or it's a weekday. Now, these inputs are too heavy, team. I mean, instead of entering the whole word, I want it to be lowered. So, not lowered, I mean, smaller characters. So, let me delete this and see if it takes up from here. Sat, or there you go, Sunday. And in fact, I can just put, there's an else and say it's weekday. Now, will this code work, team? What do you think? Is it simple enough for the logic to be handled? Let's write. I'm sorry. It's connecting. So I reconnected to the server, so it's giving me computing space. Let's enter Saturday, and yeah, it runs. And now let me also do, so whenever you're testing your code, you gotta give positive inputs and negative cases, where I'll say non-day. What would it do? It says it's weekday because it has not taken of the other logic, where I'm saying else if the day, I'm so sorry, give me a second, please. Else the day equals, and in here, I'm looking at either saying Monday, or let me delete this. Let's see if it gives me odd day. Perfect. So this is one way, team. Oops. I'm doing a tab to accept its suggestion. And were you able to play around with the notebook in Colab? Try it, team. Perfect. So I have this. It should serve my purpose, right? And but if you look at this code again, that's where I believe we should start using a list, team. A list where instead of all this, if you see days repeating so many times, and all I'm trying to compare is, let's do this. I'll copy this. No, I don't. Rather, I'll say a new elif. There you go. Day in a list. So you see, yesterday we saw that I could store and make a simple list, which is different from a tuple and a set, dictionary with a different format. But list is the simplest one where I have data. It can be a string, it can be anything, a number in it or a boolean, and it is based on position. The way I'm doing it is using the in keyword. It is saying, it is taking day and seeing does it exist in the first index, second, third, or zeroth index, first, and so on till the fifth one. So instead of a longer code, I could optimize it to a simpler, shorter code by putting all my options into this. Now, there will be needs team where you may have to do them individually. In this case, if it's a Monday, what to do, or a Tuesday, what to do, we have not put that here. So what I'll need to do is sometimes I have to divide it. And let us say I'm saying Thursday and Friday is a new list. Ting, ting, ting. Okay, elif day in only last these two, which is special. So what am I saying here? I'm already feeling a little. It's Sunday morning. Typically, it's much more relaxed, but when I'm doing programming and coding, it becomes a little intense. So what am I doing here? It is getting closer to weekend. All right. So I have more options, team, and my code can become nested if I have verifications within it, and so on. And this is one way to do it with an if statement. The other way you can do it is using simple switch case. So when I say switch case, team, we're giving it a specific or match case in this case, a list of things. So we have the same code, but instead of this, I'll say match, and I'm doing the same day. Perfect. And here I'm avoiding all the other additional words like else, if, and now I'll still use, I'm also not using in, it is just an or out here. If case is Saturday or Sunday. So from a simple if conditions where I could give the inputs individually or as lists, all the way I could also do something like switch case where I could combine my options and say, you know what, this is more than it. So now I can also say the last few, in case the details are Thursday or a Friday, it is getting closer to weekend. And a default one that we're giving instead of the entire thing is it's weekend, it is weekday, it's getting closer to weekend. Okay, if you're entering an invalid, you're basically getting this. So you have the first code, set of code, which is doing exactly the same thing. This is just a better representation, easier way to format, lesser number of characters in it. Team. When we do some more file handling and all that, you can do word counts. Take couple of Python code, which is doing exactly the same, and see count how many characters are in each. That's an easy way to see how small your code is, not necessarily how efficient or how fast, how many lesser resources it is using. Those are something you should keep an eye. There are a couple of questions that came. I'm just trying to look at the chat and see if we can incorporate that. So what I was saying, what happens if you type in the whole day name, Wednesday or Thursday, correct? Let's evaluate that condition, or Sunday. How will this code handle it? Let's see. So that's cool, team. That is where, as a user, it's good that we hurry up and write a code. But how do you execute it for various sets of data, positive, negative, and so on? So I have this first one. Then I'll also print here switch case or match case. Perfect. This is exactly what I want. So okay, print invalid day and then print switch case or match case. Now let's execute. So what's my input criteria? How do I know my code is correct? Whatever I do. So I have positive data, I have negative data, I have data that covers all the scenarios. So let's try weekend. I'll say sat positive data. I expect it to come two things. It is weekend, it's weekend. So both the codes are working. Let's try sun. Weekend, perfect. Both codes working. Let's try mon. Okay, weekday, perfect. Let's try a Thursday. It's getting closer to weekend, getting closer to weekend. So the codes are the same team, which is efficient. You can put loops and a few more things to be able to time it. We look at some codes where we will also start using timers team. Very critical for us to start timing, especially when you're sending, let's say, any calls for web automation or API automations are faster though, but you still want to have. Okay, let's say Friday, and I get invalid. So it's the same thing, whatever we are entering, but it is serving the same purpose for us. So you see how we can use simple if statements versus in a match case. So where you're matching cases from it. All right, cool. Let's create another one. So simple exercises team. So things like, what can I do? What I be doing here? List and strings only, right? So I'll just create a code instead of this. And let's say you, again, when we're talking about lists, right? So they contain data, and there are concepts where I'm thinking of testing data as list, or then we get into pandas and all that later team, and how we will store there. But primarily, what are the things that you can do with a list? Let's say you have a shopping list team, as simple as that. And to begin with in your day, there's no nothing in there for you. But as you go through, you, let's say you want to add specific numbers. So you could take an input from the user and say that I want to add 3 items into the list for now. And you're taking an input from the user, and I'll say my item equals whatever we're sending as an input, and append. Yeah, so basically you're appending 3 items to it. So you have a shopping list that's getting created. So in a very simple way, there are methods that you can do where you're appending, you're popping out things. You have a lot of things that we will do on a list team. So how you can sort your list, how you can clear them, how you can copy it to a new list, all of these are your available methods on it. Very simple, very handy, and then you'll know where this stops to help us a little bit, where pandas will start over. But simple concepts like this will help us to look at how lists are done. Let's run this code. It's not a complex code at all. SL dot look for all methods and play around. So as you learn, if you have time, write a code that does each of the methods. Show me an example of everything. In fact, I don't know if Gemini AI will help. I'm trying to show it in a practical way. Show me an example of, what am I trying to do? Printing of all functions that can be executed on a list. Ding, ding, ding. And this is something that we will give it to LLM later team, or to a chat bot. And let's see what it does. Maybe Gemini itself. But as soon as I write a comment, I'm expecting it to start doing a few things for us. I am avoiding it to get there, so I'll leave it like that. Now, the list is also about numbers team. So you can have text, you can have numbers. Let's execute this first. I'm entering, what am I doing? Shopping cart. So I can enter a digit. It's not necessary that I'm entering, and I'll say, let's say eggs and rice. So though I entered 1, since I didn't convert anything into an integer, I leave it as it, and they all come in as strings. All right. So 3 items that I wanted, and 3 items belong to that list. You basically can use it for simple storage. Now let's say you want to, you have list of either we'll take largest of 4 numbers, including decimal. So I'm looking at maybe float all the way. So I'll enter 4 numbers. I'll put it in this, and I'll say for I in range of 4. So it'll start with 0, end with 3, and my number n equals float. I'll take a float because input, enter a number. What is it doing with I after that? Let me see what it's trying to do. What I want to do is a little different, but I just want to see what it's trying to give me. Enter a number. If number equals 0, else if n is greater, the largest number is it's a nice logic. Only for the largest number, team. So in this case, let me comment what I don't need here. That's fine. Let's just execute this portion of the code. My mouse. And it's still executing that, team. I don't want my code to be there. How do I do a multiple line comment here in this? That's fine. Let me just create new code each time. That way I have separations also in them. And put it here. So what it's doing, team, the logic for this specific one is very simple. It is saying the first number, as long as if I equals to 0, largest, if n equals to n. Why only 5? Okay, first time it'll take the value and say this largest. Each time you re-enter, it'll take and verify. Stop this one. I don't need this. Stop. I'm here. Enter a number. So I'm saying 5, and let's say 0.555, and then I enter 0.554, and I enter 0.67. I entered 4 number, team. So it should give me largest is 5. And the reason it is able to do that, team, if you observe the logic, you should actually debug this line by line at your end. What am I doing? Step first time in the iteration, I is 0. I'm coming in here. N will be assigned a value of 5, correct? Now, is I equals to 0? That means it's my first iteration into it. And in the first iteration, I've created a new temporary variable called largest. And I'm assigning n to it directly because I don't have any other number in my list or in what I found to be larger than this. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm sorry, I lost thought with something in the chat. And then let's look at it next time. So it's going to go and come back from here after line 6. It's going to come back here. I is no longer 0, team. So it'll never go back into line 6 again. So I is 1. It'll take the next input, which is 0.55, and it'll take is 5 greater than what? 0.55 greater than largest, which is set to 5 already. So it'll say that no, it is not. So only if what we enter is greater than a previously entered larger number, it will replace that, saying my new largest is the latest number that you entered. Then when does it print line 9? If you observe it, print line 9 is not part of this block of code, neither in the if block nor in the for loop block. It is outside of it. It's totally disjointed. And this is a good way to do it. But what if I want to enter them as an array of inputs, team? So I'll just say not array, a list. And I want to enter some numbers into it Actually, instead of appending, let me just add some numbers here. 0. Let's say 3.14, 3.1415, 3.139, 3.1415. All right. And somewhere in between, I'll put 44, just a random number. So how many do I have? I have a specific list of numbers. I'll just say print length of n1. Let it do that for me. Why do I have a fur here? I don't need a fur yet. I'll just put fur. I don't need this code. I'll just do a block comment team. So that way, what I'm not running, I don't need to worry about it. So I just have a array. So what am I trying to do here? So in this array, there are inbuilt ones. So I can print the entire list, but I can also print, let's say, the maximum by using the max of method. So if I say max of and enter built-in function that, as you see, n1 into it, it'll give me the maximum. And similarly, you can say print, let's see if it does any min for me. Where's my GI assistant? It didn't do min. It can also do a few more things, team, but that is where lists end and your pandas will pick up, where you're able to do a few more. So minimum of n1. I see a few things on the chat, team. I'll come to you. Print. Now, how do I get an average? So is there an average? No. Average? No. There's no given average, team. So what I'll do is I'll say it is, I have, okay, wow, cool. I can do a sum, team, of a specific list, but then you're making sure that you have numbers in them, and then I'll divide it by the length of it. So length of it, it'll tell me exactly how many numbers are there. So I'll add the entire list and it will give me the average for it. Is syntax correct? Max n1, minimum this. Let's give a little space and run this code. Why is it not block commenting for me, man? That's fine for now. Okay. And some, I don't need these anymore. Let me do a few. The largest of 5. So what we have here are 5 numbers, team, that are part of this list. And the maximum is 44 is the maximum. And the minimum is 3.139. So if you have large data, these are simple functions that will help you, team, to identify. Average is something we've calculated it. We use a little math function to do that. But you're primarily looking at you know, how you can do some simple math in it. Sorry, one second. Yeah, I use that. Funny, if you see that, I use block command. Kartik, Windows, Linux, select the block of code and press Control Shift. Yes, you're right. So, you know what? I'll ask Google Assistant. Enter a prompt here. How to comment multiple blocks of multiple lines of code of PyCode in Colab notebook. Yeah, quick grammar. Let's see what it does. Okay, Windows Control plus Shift. Cool. I think that's exactly what Chinmay said. And funny. Yeah, thank you all. Sanjay, you too. And cool. See, it's so easy to find a solution. Now, what am I doing? I don't need this part of the code, so I wanted to comment this control. And that's just like your IDE comment, but I didn't realize that it'll do. I tried this, team. See, it's not working for me. The beginning of each. And I tried this. See, okay, is it commented now? No, see, selected, control. Ah, there we go. It worked now. I don't know why it didn't work earlier. All right, great. So we have that commented, that block of code. Now we have this. What else do we want to do, team? A few more simple programs. Thank you all for suggesting. Really appreciate. Because while I was going in the flow, I didn't want to deviate and get to seeing, okay, what is the solution for it? I tested it's working with single op, double quotes. Okay, cool. Thanks, Funny. There's a hand raised. Let me see if anyone from the audience has a question that I need to answer right now. Hands went down. No, there are two hands raised, team. Sanjay, Suresh, let me know if you still have questions or I need to unmute you. All right. I'm looking briefly for the questions, team. Sure, Hitesh. I'll talk about Pandas later. Pandas basically is a library that Python, it's not inbuilt with Python. So you import it, you install pip install Pandas, and then you take it. The reason it is because there are certain areas that list top, and Pandas give you a lot of inbuilt features that you can play around with. And so it gives you more closer to an array kind of a view. So when we're going to be working, in fact, a little later today, we'll start using Pandas to read CSV data into our code and then be able to handle it. So it's got more, it'll make your code easier with Pandas. And same if you look at NumPy or SciPy or MatPlotLib or SeaBorn, this all give you capabilities that we can start using. All right, what's next? We've done this. I'm gonna comment this too. I'm doing a hard keyboard press for this. So simple things, team. So even you could search in a list, and let's say I have a list of fruits. I hope it will do auto fill for me. Let me write one fruit. Let's see what fruits it'll get for me. Apple. No, doesn't want to get anything. Just say banana. No autofill. Is it not working? See, once you get used to someone assisting, it becomes very tough for you to do it yourself. So what am I doing here, team? Forget it. Then I'll just say a direct sunlight in my eyes. I'll just say my text. All we're trying to do is how do we write simple logic, understanding the requirement and then putting something in it. So just a list of few things, team. And what I want to do is my T2 equals here. I'll say there's an input from the user, enter search term. So all you're trying to do in here is see if that is there in that list. So if my text is in, you're able to print, and you can also print and say what is the position that is at found at. So let's use a function for this and say found at my T1. Let's call this my T1. If I change this to T1, will it change everywhere? No. My T1 F found at position. So you want to add 1 to it, and we don't know the current index. So I'll just say my T1 dot index. Oops, I was trying to read dot index my T2. There we go. So what did I do? This is a variable for me, +1 and end of it. Anything wrong here? Why does it say there's an issue? Do you see anything issue, team, in the code? Why does it have a red underline? That's a question. Interesting. Does not match opening. Ah, no one observed. The end brackets. Maybe you're already putting it in the chat team. I used curly brackets rather than a rounded one, and that's where it is. So there we go. Fix that. And what is the search term? So let's say I'm searching for F, which is not. So it's gonna say that it's not present. Enter search term, give a space, and I'll say A, and it's present at the first position. And enter D, it is present at which position. So you can search through a list and make sure that you're able to find to see if there's something in it. I'm sorry. Now, the same thing, if you could also do things like I can add to the list a few more things, and then I can sort and pop. Let's do those. So let's do add, sort, pop. T2 is there, right? So first, I'm going to change the order. So I'll say there's an F here, there's an A, and then there is a G here, C, D, E. Let's take a B again. No, I didn't take a B earlier, but let's take another A, and you are basically doing that operation on the list. So if I just print the entire list right now, my T1, it'll, okay, perfect, thank you. And what we're doing now is let's sort it. So print my T1 dot sort, there we go. I don't need to print it again here. So here is a sorted list. So once it's sorted, you can't do anything out of it. Team. Sorted list is, and what happens if your list is numbers? How does it sort? What does it do? There are a few things that you can explore. Then let's pop something out. So I'll say my T1 dot pop. What do I want to pop? So either I am giving it a position or I'm giving it an index. So I don't know if there's a pop by, but let's talk about just an index for now. And after sorting, I want to pop the last one. So that will be my T1, length of my T1 -1. And when you're writing a larger program, team, where you're going to be using things like the length and so on, you'll put them into variables, define them, and start doing these operations. So after I popped, I'm going to okay. If my T2, okay, that's fine. You see what I'm doing, team? I'm just putting it now as a function. So I'm trying to see if pop the last one. Now, what am I doing? I'm seeing in list, and I can search for A, and I can also search for, let's say, in list Z. So which one did it pop for me? And I'm seeing them, and let's say I do my T1 dot append we did. Okay, append we didn't do. And I add a Z again and print my T1. Yeah, pop, pop. Oops, what happened? It's copied only. Tuk, 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 tuk. Okay, that's fine. So what are we doing here, team? This is a function. I have a list. I'm printing it. I'm sorting and printing. Then I'm popping the last item. I'm checking if A is in the list. I'm checking if Z is in the list. Same method, I'm using it twice. And then my T1, and also check in list Z again. Or in list something random. To have this in list Z. All right. So let's execute this part of the code. Anything else that's selected? I just have the function, and I have a call to the function. Perfect. All right. No inputs from me needed. No. So here's my list. Sorted list is none. Wow. Might have. Oh no. Why? It didn't sort it. Do you get? You seeing any? Tuk, 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 dot sort. Here's my sorted list. Is this sorted? This is sorted. I don't understand. So let's do this. Or I think the problem is it is printing and then sorting team. So I'll say my T1 dot sort and print this. So see, the first print statement is sorted list is. I'm printing my T1. This is original list. Sort, and then my T1 dot sort, and then sorted list is this. Now let's try Steam. No, now I don't need to resort it. It's already done. So I'll just say my T1. Original list is, oh, there's no comma here. All right, original list is this. Sorted list is this. Found at position 1. Which one? What are we searching for? In list A, I think. Then in list Z, no, not found. Why? Because we did this, and you can have duplicate elements in your list. So that's what it's doing. Perfect. I think it's done a lot of the same things. So I'm just looking at chat questions team, and this is where, unlike just a video tutorial, live participation will be good because you can also put start coding with me. So I'm just thinking, what next? What if I want to get a list and make sure that the new list is only has unique items in it. So I have an original list and that is there. So I'll say for I in range, and I'll say my T1. I'm still using that. And I go through it. am I doing? Did I already do this? If I in, no, I'm not doing this thing. A list only for duplicates. I'm just going too deep into list. There's a lot of other things to cover. Don't want to confuse, but there's so many things you can continue to do, team. Like even printing. I'm just seeing if there's something we can do. You can print certain, like the list of numbers, the first few or the last few, and so on. Say you want to print the first 5, last 5. You're basically saying print, and then within that, let's say print my T1, which is the new one. Let me close this view. I'm not printing count of how many times it is appears. I think this is just printing the number of times it is appearing. But let's say I want to print the first 5. So I'm basically saying you start with the nothing and go to the first 5 at the beginning. Should give me the first 5, hopefully. Same like with strings that we saw when we were trying to reverse it. You give colon colon -1. With the lists, you are doing something similar. And here, let's say you want to do the last 5 or last 3. So you're counting down from the end. So -3 is what we start with. And even if you're confused him, you can just use AI1 to quickly assist you with it. So that should be okay. So list, so much on lists. Why did you spend so much time? That's fine. So that's my first 5, and that's my last 3. All right, team, any questions, please? And you can join 2 lists together. You can, reverse them. You can do whatever you want with it, team. Like I showed you some of the methods. And your list can be mixed. You don't have to necessarily say that everything is a character alphabet. You can have numbers or anything in your list itself, even objects by itself. Cool. Wow, I'm just seeing there's so many exercises that we could do. This will be an interesting one. Actually, there's something called MatPlotLib. Let's do that. Where it's not complicated at all, team, but that'll set us into doing something more. So this is again playing around a lot with strings. Generate a specific HTML report will do. Okay. So what we're trying to do, team, is if I have certain types of input data, can I get a HTML dashboard view of what it is? So your data can be in a list, your data can be coming through a file, but how do we go about creating a HTML dashboard view of it? Is something we'll to look at. This will become very important because as you're working on things, you want to start looking at analytics reports on what happened, what executed. So let's take a little break, but any questions before that, and then come back to finish some of these. Let's see, questions. Why do we need to add import statement here? Did I add an import statement? Why do we not need to add? I see, because all the features that you saw so far are inbuilt with your Python interpreter. Anything additional, so not that everyone uses everything that they want. So you basically go and buy the leanest or download the latest one that is all inbuilt with Python interpreter. Anything additional are external libraries being created by either communities of developers who are contributing to it, or by different programmers, and that is where you have those abilities coming in. We'll start looking at those as well. So I have this, and then I have to do the few games, team. Like, it'll really help us to understand how we can do a few things. Let's do this. little bit more coding. Let's do this first, and then simple gaming in Python. Let's do this next. And then we will, I'm just looking at a plethora of topics that I could do from. Uh, File handling is there, and then API automation. These are the things that we need to do today, team. And then, because I'll need file handling for this simple gaming in Python, I don't need. There's a game rules that we'll provide, and then we'll have user input something, the computer to do something randomly. Let's see what comes. So once you know file handling, then we can go around playing input data. CSV input data, can I get HTML dashboard? Perfect. API automation. Yeah, these are three topics that we'll do today, team, when we rejoin. I plan to take a small break. Hmm. There was a code that I searched for a timer, but what's the time now? 8:08, team, and 8:08 a.m. Pacific. Let's meet in 7 minutes, 8:15 a.m. 8:15 a.m. I'm going to pause the recording and go on mute. And once we're back, we'll continue. Audio. All right, team, thank you for an extended break. I appreciate it. So we're back. All right, what do you want to do? So we've outlined what we want to do. There's a lot very interesting that we can achieve also, team. It can be fun at parts for us. It doesn't have to be always, you know, work and no play. So let's do some um, coding through games, gaming, coding. The whole concept is important, team. And to understand and how we explain rules and translate them into logic, and then create an algorithm for it. So you are slowly getting into um, being able to expand your output based on your needs. So let's do something like we can always do things like rock, paper, scissors, and so on. Uh, but some of this could be a little hard to understand, team. So we'll start with something simpler and then go to maybe something more complex. So let's say we want to guess a number. So, and what we will say is the PC or computer to pick a random number between 1 to 100. All right. And then the user has to guess if it is. So how do we limit? I mean, user can't do 100 guesses. How can it be a little bit more interactive? What it could do is, and I shouldn't say PC, I should say my code or my code. Then code to suggest if it is higher or lower. And also, let's say we don't know how long, but also count how long it would take. Let's write a basic code for this. When I say how long, how many attempts, not time. And see also what ChatGPTs or LLMs do, or maybe for the others. So in this case, the first number is the code number, right? The number that the logic itself or the program is giving us. So for that, we're going to use random team. So I'll say there's a secret number which is not visible unless you look at the code, and that is being picked. So I'm not going to print this number. So I'll say random dot randit. Now, to be able to use random, I believe it is a package that you need to import, team. This is where you'll start seeing slowly that there are more packages that are available for you to start importing them. Let's see what suggestion it's giving. If it's showing any issues here, we'll go there. So it's not defined. Let's say import random. It says it recognized. I don't need to do any pip install for random. And so what am I doing? Printing a number. Let's see what it does. So it printed 22. If I rerun this 55, 100, 86, randomly taking a number, and my range is 1 to 100. Now, what do I want to do? I want the user to pick a number. So I'll say input. It was doing something for me. Input. Oh, integer. Sorry. Yes, I don't need a string. So I need an integer that's between 1 and 100. And my logic is that, okay, the count is 1. The first thing I'll do is if unum equals the secret number, then you guessed it right. That is when we will stop this. Else, what do we'll do? So it, now if it is, so if it's not there, then what I'll do is lft unum is less than secret number, then print, I'll say try higher. That means my secret number is higher. The user number that was there was lesser than it. Then I'll say try higher. There are only 3 cases, I believe, team. Look at it. And that is where you have to be conscious of how many conditions do I need to verify. I don't need to now again verify if it is greater than, if it is not equal to, if it is not less than, obviously it will be greater than. So I'll say print try lower. Great. That's all I have. But will I be able to get this in the first count? Yes. How? 88, and I say 88, and it'll be right because we printed it. So we don't want to print this. We want the user to be able to do. So I don't know how long it will be there or how long it will be. We need to do it for. So while I don't need, what should I do? Because I just want to put a continuous break here, team. I don't know how many times, and I don't have a condition. My condition is here. I can always put this whole condition into the while loop, but let me put it here. I have a count starting with 1. If it is a wrong 1, my count will increase by 1. The same thing, if it is a lower 1, then my count will again increase by 1. I don't need what this is. That is already done. Okay, you took count attempts, that's fine. Now here, the thing is this random number is generated once, but the user has to constantly input this. So I'll take that and put it in here as my first step. So first I get the user number. I know the secret number from the code, but I don't have it visibly. And then I'm going to look at this logic to help me to iterate. So if I guessed it right, then I break out of it. If I didn't, then I'll continue with these. For how long? I'll say maybe max tries equals 10. Then I'll say max tries equal is less than 10. So the count could be less. It can be even 5. So max tries is less than or equal to 10. In this case, I will also have to, for every try, we are increasing. So you guessed it right. Am I increasing it, team? No. Only the count is increasing when I'm attempting. So the first number is there for the first one. And thereon, as long as you don't guess it right, it will keep increasing the count. But the number of tries you do, you can increase it. Okay, this is not correct. Max tries is 0 to start with. Oops. And then I'll say increment max tries. I can do it here. Plus 1. And what am I saying? If max tries is less than or equal, while this is true, we're going to do this team. So as long as if it gets it before that, that's great. Or this loop will only do this. So this statement, I don't want it to be printed if you guessed it right. Yeah. What's my logic? My logic is once, when will this get printed? You took so many attempts. You guessed it right. You took so many attempts. If it's already reached the maximum, then it will say max variance reached. If it's lower than that, it will say count. So let's see. It should be still fine. All right. Enter a number between 1 to 100. Okay, so that's my loop. I'm here, team. You see the green arrow? That's where I am at the moment. Let's step into this code and I don't know, let me do 55, somewhere in between. So it's almost like you are looking at which is your maximum end. So try lower. So let's go to 35. Try higher. So now the number is somewhere between 36 and 50, 40. It is neither. So let's do 44. Try higher. Wow, now I'm getting closer. How about 50? Try lower. So it's 45 to and how many chances do I have? Or let's put that. Why should I repeat that? So I'll put it here for the next program. It's not going to do it for this. Attempts left. Max tries is 10 is greater than 0. So I change the logic now and I'll decrement. So I'll start with 10 and I'll keep decrementing it by 1 each time. And if it fails, it says out here attempts left is comma max tries. So the first time it'll be 9 if I don't do it, and then 8 and so on from the next one team. So now we're between 44 and 50. Anyone wants to guess? Give a number, please. Let's see. What would you guess as the next one to input if this is where we are stuck now, 44 to 50? Am I recording this? Everyone with me on the chat team? 47. Okay. Anyone else? How about 48 maybe? Let's see. No, 47. So it says try lower. Now it's 44 to 48. Let's do 47. You guessed it right. Wow, perfect. Who was that? Couple of 41s, 47s. Chinmay and Hitesh. Siri, and you and I, we were close at 48. Let's try this again. Now, see, you took 6 attempts. You guessed it. You took 6 attempts. Perfect. What happens if I don't get it within the first 10 attempts? So in fact, 10 attempts is great, but if I'm being very stupid and I start with saying 1 or 100, then I'll really losing all my chances. So where do you want to start with, team, for this one? Shall we make the attempts 5? Yeah, let's make the attempts 5 and then see. So we know it'll be tougher. So we'll increase the level, complexity level of it. So just by one parameter change, you're able to say, let's stop this, rerun this. Interrupt execution. Okay. It's a little slower, team, since it's a web-based platform that you're using for our IDE. All right, let's do 47 like previous. Try higher. Attempts left 4. Okay. Try higher. Team suggest, please. So now we're looking at 48 to 100. 80? Will it be too high? 76. Okay. Oops. 55. Try lower. Okay, I have 3 more attempts, team. Remember. Try higher. So it's between 55, 56, and 75. If I do 66 or 65, we'll know exactly what's in between. Maybe this way or that way, but why is the enter taking, you guessed it right. Wow, cool. There was 165 Siri. And we could still do it in 4 attempts, team. That's good. Let's change it to 3 attempts because ours is only 1 to 100. And you could make it much more interesting. Look at it. You guessed it right. Try higher, try lower. This is only 2 things. Or you're you're too far away. Could be something as an indicator. If the difference between this number and the other number is very high, then I'll say you're too far away. So how do I do that? Guessed it right. Try higher, try lower. After this, I'll put one more. If let's say I'm just playing around, team. You number um, minus secret number is, and I need um, just a positive number, team. The gap between these two. Tuk, 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 tuk. Oops. Is less than, let's say, 25 or greater than 25, then I will say print. Wow, it's doing something for me. Let's see. Print very close. But what if it is negative number? That's my thing. Can someone search for me and find me a quick solution on? If I have a number, get me the positive number of it. It should be an inbuilt one. I'm just looking at the logic, so I haven't got the returns left is there perfect from the previous one. Try higher, try lower. This is another one. So there's one condition which is just saying higher, lower, but there's another condition which is saying how far. If it's greater than 25, very far, I'll say. If it is greater than, okay, let's do very close, team. If it is less than 5, then it is very close. Else, if it is less than 25 or 20, then I'll say not close. Else if, or just an else last one. That means it is print far. Yeah, very far. I'll say if it is greater than. Ah, now the problem is, okay. Did anyone search for that? Let's try assistant. Oops, I don't need that. Let's do Gemini assistant and pi to convert integer to positive. And these are all integers. There are no floats in here. Using absolute function. Yeah, absolute is perfect. In fact, for the gaps also you can use. So ABS is just giving you the absolute difference, team. And so it's positive or negative. It's going to take care of it and just do that. So I'll say what I need is an absolute of these two. Oops. I didn't write anything there. Oh, it's still executing. Stop. Okay. I have it being, so I'll say gap equals absolute of these two. So, oops. But I'm not going to print the gap because that will give away everything. And I don't need that. All I need is here, I'll just say gap. If gap is less than 5, then you're very close. If gap is less than 20, then you're not close. Not that close rather. And else, if it's greater than 20, then very far. In fact, if the gap equals to 0, you guessed it right. That's also a nice way to look at it. Now what happened here? Interrupted. That's fine. But is there a syntax issue here? No, I don't think so. Let's rerun this. It's running the code. I don't need this. Let's look at it, team. So starting with something smaller, let's say I do 11. Try higher, not that close. What does it mean, team? So at least from the logic, I know that if it's not that close, it is less than 20. So it is uh, maybe between 11 to 30. So let's do something like, instead of going to 100 or 70 or that spectrum, I'll just do 20. Try higher, very close. So that means it is 5 more than 20. Let's see now. Try higher, very close. Anyone? There are 4 chances. Not chances, but attempts left is only 1. But now you're very close. You're between 20 and 24. So 20 is not there. There's 21, 22, 23, and 24. You have these 4 options. I haven't seen a chat for a while from the audience. Are you all with me? Okay, now I get it. So there's 23 2 times. You get 2 23s. I have only 3 attempts stream. That's the last one. 24s. Okay. So think of it, what it might be. Let's run it and see what it'll do. Okay. 23 is what I'm taking from the audience. You took attempts left 0. Try lower than 23. So that's only 21 or 22. Very close, but my attempts left are 0. I am never able to go back and get that data, team, because I never captured it out, printed it out, or did anything with it. But yeah, any questions on this? Anything else that we can do there? Let's do one more thing, team. Let's talk about timing functions, team. So timer and how we apply them becomes very important, especially when you have a lot to do with tests that are taking time over a period of thing, and you need either counters, you need how things will work, and so on. So what you want to do is, let us say, ting ting ting, then I'll need both clock, but I'll need to clear screen. So I don't have clear screen OS then. Okay, what is my requirement? One, take input for countdown time in minutes. Show time left with minutes and seconds as 3. And if you look at it in the previous one, I wanted to explore with random. Now I just want to do some how we do simple timer and OS. Then we'll get into a few more around it. So for this, I also want to make sure that show time left and with minutes and seconds, and then display in console. So if I display in console with 5 seconds refresh, I'll say every 5 seconds it has to go and display it there. So definitely I'll need something called as import the time library, team. That is where you'll be able to get things like what is the current time and so on. So, and if we are entering minutes, so I'm saying min I can't use because it is already used, is I'll say CD for countdown equals input enter countdown time in minutes. Okay, and this is actually this good. So I took the input as text, but I converted this into integer after that, and I multiplied by 60, so I get the total seconds. And this could be done because of what I've already put up here, team. If I just say import time and our Gemini didn't know that I had these. So this is a very clear way to start getting assistance as you're writing your code. Now, we know that this is the one. So I want to loop through and go till the time. Print. So while, what is CD? Okay, this is fine. That's correct. While my countdown is greater than 0. Wow, it's already did everything for me. Time format, print. So basically it's saying 2 decimal format first with another 2 decimal format. This is a string, and this value will get replaced by minutes out here, and this by seconds. What I wanted to do was something similar. So time format, why am I giving? Oh, we're printing the time format. Okay. But then I also want to sleep for 5 seconds. How long will it? So time.sleep is one of the other inputs, team, that we're doing. And where am I getting system time? Or should I be decrease it? Yeah, I think I should manually decrease it then. Every 5 seconds, right? So all I'm doing is, oops, where am I? So sleep for 5 seconds and CD minus equals 5. So since we have all that in seconds, and I'll say this is what it is. But now what it will do, team, and it should still be fine, but it'll keep on printing this every 5 seconds for the total. So let's say I put a timer for 1 minute, enter time in minutes. I'll say 1. So what it should be doing here is every 5 seconds, it should be printing how many seconds are left. I'm not looking at the system time here, team. Did it take 5 seconds? Time.sleep is 5. It's here. See, the green arrow is here. Why is it still stuck here? I hope it's not sleeping for 5 minutes. Seconds. See, that's the input that we're giving. I have no idea why it's stuck. Let's see. Stop this. I'll print CD. So that way I know what the total seconds are. Print time format dot format. We're printing it in this way. I can also print, we're only printing one time format this and end. So I can say seconds left are my CD. Oops, the CD. And it is overwriting that. So seconds left are this. Let's do the seconds left first and then do this after that. Time format. Okay, so I'm not doing this, just printing this. So this code should basically keep on printing, and that's something. What's wrong here? Enter countdown time in minutes. Let me read. Ting, 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 interrupted by user. All right. So now, okay. So I'm doing 2 minutes, time in seconds, 120. Where did it come from there? Yeah, 115 and so on. So it is counting down and it is working. So this should be fine. But let's see if it has, how does it clear a screen and do a team? So I'm going to go meanwhile to AI Assistant and see if it can help me with something out here. Okay, it's got a code. Let's also see that code. But let's see what's happening to our execution here. It is taking its time. So in the meanwhile, I'll just add another code here, team. Copy this code and put it here just to view. Oops, the countdown is still going. Let's see. Does it use anything? It's almost like our code. It's got good comments. That's nice. But if your code itself is English-like because of the way you're nicely naming them, then it should be fine. I'll count down in seconds, minutes, seconds. See, this is the same one that's used. And calculate minutes and seconds remaining. So minutes. So so total seconds will go into the seconds and then by 60. So that is what. So once we divide it by 60, the total seconds, div and moduli, it's doing both divide and giving the moduli. So the mod div, once we divide, the whole number will go here and the remainder will go into seconds. So that's what we're getting here. And that's exactly what we did. But I want to clear the screen, team. Let me see if I can use a OS system. So now it's done. Seconds left 5. Did it finish after that? So once it meets that, so time to sleep is fine. Then reduce it by 5. And then if CD is less than or equal to 0, oops, then break. That's what we're doing. So as soon as it is, and before breaking, I just want to say print timed out. Nice. Okay, now clear screen. So you can also write it here, team, how to clear screen, how to clear screen, console screen, clear console, basically, whatever output we're getting in Py through Py, yeah, through code itself. So I know you have to import OS. Yeah, perfect. Let it guide me while we write that. And if os.name nt, so it's looking at operation system else clear. Okay, that's it. It's just one sentence, team. It's actually just os.system cls if it is nt, otherwise it is clear. Okay, let's look at this. Two commands. What we're trying to do avoid here is I don't want it like this. I want the same thing to get cleared and a new one to keep coming. So every time we display it and after timed out or before timed out here, I'll just say os.system cls. So this should be fine if the input, if the actual operating system name is NT. So you can print the OS name so you know what it is. os.name. There we go. So I know my OS name. So these are system variables, team. So you have system time, operating system, who's the user, which is a local directory. So all this information is automatically available by any program that is running. Sorry. Okay. os.name. So if it is not NT, so I mean, that's fine. We can also, so why am I not printing this? Seconds left is what I want to print, and that's fine. OS name, I don't want to print it repeatedly. So I'll put it out here. Print time in seconds, OS name, and then OS dot system. Yeah, I didn't write this. Yep, come on, you were there. It's not writing it for me. Okay, tab, there we go. Else, clear. I don't need to print time format. Why am I printing time format? Time format is in this, right? So let's print this time format also, team. And then I'm clearing it, and then sleep and redo it. Perfect. Let's do a small timer. Close Gemini. Suggest any games, team. Think of few simple games that we can use. Things like rock, paper, scissors, things like tic-tac-toe. Some things might look very simple, but the complex comes in as we try and implement all the rules and logics. Enter countdown in minutes. I'll say 1. Let's see how it works for a minute. Second, 60. OS name is POSIX. Seconds left, 55. It is not clearing, team. See? And where is it printing time format? It's only printing seconds left. Div and moduli should have worked with this. And print time format. Forget this end as R. Stop. And what is the issue here? I don't know. Let's see. Will it take 0.5? Does it mean? Okay, now it's printing in the time format. 1 minute, 55. But it is not clearing. I don't know why. I just want to say clear. Let me avoid this if part of it for now. Just clear screen. Because see, my OS name is POSIX. It's not got anything to do with NT. So this should work maybe one more time. See, once, one code, how many times we have to write, team? And that's the beauty where at least everything is done by your AI tool or an assistant to large extent. So we should be able to get more effective with it. It's not clearing screen, team. Not sure exactly why. If OS, it is, that is the problem. For this, I need clear, I guess. Stop. Try again. 1, enter. No, maybe it'll work in PyCharm or other ID locally on my machine, because it's definitely looking at where this code is running. It is not running on my local. So it should be trying to pick from something. Let me see any questions at the end. We can print the secret number in the end, right? Okay, where are we? That was long back. Okay. My chat option is gone now after break and question options. I think I can see you, Narayan. As it is not NT, we should use clear. You're right, Chinmay. So we use clear and it still didn't do it. It is counting down, but it's not clearing my screen. Something, maybe it's a different one for within this. We can try that there. All right, a couple more uh, set of codes, team, before let's do a couple more games just for the interest of it, and then let's look at file handling right after that. Okay. Meanwhile, any questions coming my way, let me know. I wanted to show you Lambda also, that's fine. Temperature converter to basic. File handling, HTML dashboard. Mm, create dashboard. Yeah, we'll do those. All right, team. So what else can we do? Block, I don't need this for now. We've done this. This is not working. Let me write a comment so we know. Issue in clearing on clearing console on Pi notebook on Colab. So this is something we'll need to address. Fair enough. Let's look at something else, team, as a code. I wrote a code for tic-tac-toe, and I just wanted to show that code, but let's see what Gemini gives. And we're not using all of the tools, team. You can take the same prompt, put it into multiple agents, chat agents, and see what it will give you. Okay. So PyCode for a simple tic-tac-toe. It is as brief as a prompt that I'm giving. I'm not giving it all the rules, but the beauty of it is it knows the relevance. It already knows that there are a few things I'm searching. And look at this. How can I create a plot in Colab? How do I write pandas, data frame? These are very nice questions that is continuing to assist. So do this, team. Use Colab as much as you can if you like it. It's helping also in your learning needs. This should be enough for it to be able to give me some kind of a game structure. The reason this code could have looked very simple, team, but look at what we might have to achieve as a complexity. Even if I do not have enough time to write brand new code, I should be absolutely in a position to read through any Python code that is written. That is the level that you all have to reach, team, and that is something we'll easily achieve. Now the only reason I didn't write the whole code is for simple like guess a number and a counter itself we took so long, team, because it is evolving. I'm speaking, I'm writing, we make mistakes, we have to debug, we have to correct them. And look at this code. So my intent primarily is to read through, and you could also ask it to, so this is the entire code for what, tic-tac-toe, right? Yeah, so let me do that. Tic-tac-toe. I should organize these, team, all of the code in specific sections, so that way I'm able to refer to any section at any point. So I'll add more sections, organize them later. So here's a tic-tac-toe game, team, that we've got. Just quick scan. What do I have? I have a function print board. I have a function check who wins, I guess. Then I scroll down and I want to see if the board is full. Yeah, in a tic-tac-toe, I know the board can. So then there's a function called play tic-tac-toe that looks like the actual game logic. And there is a loop while board, blah, 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 invalid move. Okay. If board row column equals current player, check win. So how do you check a win? So that's all there in the check win. Cool. You understand the logic, team? So there's basically all broken down into functions, and each function is trying to accomplish something. At the end, we're just calling this main method. It's just so a lot of times you have your whole code has functions, but you want a starting point of where the execution should start, like just like a Java main method. And that is where saying that my execution starts here if this is my main method, or just simply play tic-tac-toe. And whenever I'm executing this, it'll start with that program. So which one should we evaluate first? Should we go through this or should we go through the functions to be able to read through? I believe that if you go through the methods, it will tell you what other capabilities that each one has, and then you can try and plug it in the logic. Otherwise, if I go through the logic flow, I'll have to deviate from here, go back to the function and come again. So let's look at the first function, team. And there's also a good description of what it does. So print board prints the current state of the board. What is it doing, team? For row in board. So I'm sending board. What would board be? I think this will be a two-dimensional list. There you go. See, a list within a list. And this is the initial board where, if you look at the one in green out here that I highlighted, all spaces for underscore in range of 3. So 3 spaces of 3 spaces, and again 3 of spaces for range 3. So wow. So we have anyway printing the board, team. What this logic is doing is it has a two-dimensional metric. So no longer it is only one list. It has got a list within a list of lists. When we print the board, you will see exactly what the board will get printed. So this one is printing the board. Whatever is there in board will get printed. So here it is adding separator like a vertical bar, and then joining one row. Take one row and use this and join that with the row. And once you join it, put 5 hyphens. That's basically printing like almost like a checkbox box, the tic-tac-toe board, team. But what is there within each row, the data will see. Okay. So how do we know if it's a win? Wow. Check rows, check columns, check diagonals. Correct. So in a tic-tac-toe, you're seeing for 3 to be successfully there, the same thing in that. So for row in board, let me show did I minimize what happened to the previous one? My prompt, new chat, where is history? I just copied the code. I wanted to show you the diagram also, team. So what are we doing here for checking the rows? So we'll go through each row for row in this. If cell equals to player for each cell in that row. So if the cell and the player, so we're seeing this is both full cell in row. Let's look at this logic now. Okay, so this logic is basically saying if rows match, columns match. So I'm going through specific row, specific column, and seeing if 3 of them match in a column, or diagonally where I'm having I as an increment where I in range of 3. So 0, 1, 2. So it'll be for all 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2 in each, it's gonna take. And if any of them match in a range of 3, so like, okay, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, that is what it's gonna check, team. Horizontal or what, diagonally. If that is true, that is good. But it can also be the other way, where we have 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So that also we need to put in here. So 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 0. And either these cases. So 4 situations where I know we won, where we have rows, columns, diagonal one way, diagonal the other way. Otherwise, it is false. So all of these are returning true. So my definition check win is basically a method that will return true. And then you're seeing if the board is full. So there's no more tries left. If every cell return false, is board full? So if there's any blank space, any blank cell within my row, and go through each row in the board, then I'll return a false, otherwise return a true. Now you're playing the game, let's say. So a board will get printed. Current player, I'm saying is X. So that is what I'll print as a current player. So while true. Enter row 0 to 2, enter column 0 to 2. So that is how I will choose where I'm applying. And now it is comparing. And it should be able to current player wins. Oh, there are 2 players. Print board. Okay, I think we are almost there towards the end of it. Is board full? That's it, right? So where is the, if row is in this range and column is in this range and board row column here, then you break out of the while loop. Invalid move, try again, please enter. Current player is X. Now board equals current player. Check if it's a win, print board. Is board full? Print board. And else current player is 0. If current player equal to X, else it is X. Okay. So you have 2 players team, both are us. So one is choosing 0, one becomes X. So the first one will be 0, the other one will be X, and it'll iterate through them both one after the other. And it's going to take inputs between 0 and 2. So you pick that way. Let's run and see what comes out. Which code am I running? Am I running the wrong code? Yeah. Oh no, I was entering the right one. I put that code ahead of this. That was a problem. Sorry. This is how it wanted to print it. Player extern. It is coming in. Let's do this. Enter row. So where do I want to put? I'm saying 0, 0. So I'm assuming this is what it is. So I'll put in 0, 0. So I'll say 0 and 0. So now is a new one. So this is where I put X. So this is player O's turn. Player X is done. Players O X, this 0 is also yours. So I'm going to put in this position. So that is 1 and a 1. So enter 1 and enter 1 again. And now we've got this. As a player X, let's say I put it in this position. What is this position, team? Your row is 2 and your column is 1. Oh, no, I should have put 0. I put it in the wrong one. It should have been 2, 0. Now 0's turn. So this is going to be lucky for, how do we make them win now? Let's put 0 here. So 2 row 0 out here. What happens if I try and put the same one? Invalid move, try again. See, so I can't overwrite what the other user already did. So there'll be a simpler way that we can do this with Pandas also, team. I believe it's the same logic though, but we'll try that. Enter column. So I'm saying enter row 2, enter column 0. Okay. X is gonna do, enter row is 0, column is 1. And I've put it here. Now it's player 0's turn. 0 wants to go here. So that is 0 and 2. And let's put 0. Let's put 2. If I put 3 or anything else, that is your part of your testing of your code. Where is it able to handle more and more stuff for us? So that's a 0 and a 0 team. So, and here, what did we do? Oh no, it went up. I think it finished the whole program. So it says player 0 wins. The nice code. You should all see it within your notebook that I shared. You can play around and still see if there's something you can do with it. I should be able to move these codes, right? Up and down. Yeah, I think it came down. Clear screen was one thing that didn't work. What else? They were rock, paper, scissors. Do you, let's do as quickly as possible, team. I won't take too long. Just the logic for us to understand is important. So rock, paper, scissors. The complexity will increase, team. I'm not going to execute this code also. Py code for, come on. My prompt is very pathetic, very bad, but that's fine because my tool is smart enough that it knows that this is what I might be looking at. Let's copy this. Let's also scroll down to see if it gives me anything. But Grok is something I really started liking, team. The Twitter one, even that's good. So let's see. Here's all how it works. There's a random function, there's a get user input, generate computer's choice, determine the winner, print the result. So the difference here, block ensures the player accessor function is called when the script is executed. That's what I was talking about, main method. So let's look at what it generated for us. Quick view of it, and shouldn't take too long now. So the only library that's important is random. Okay, so there's a whole method called rock, paper, scissors. Oh, I copy the whole thing. What happened? Tuk, tuk, and did it go away? Why did it go away? Doesn't it store my history? Sometimes what is happening is the code is being written, if you observe this. So it's all in action. So if you copy too early, the whole code is definitely not written. So it did till paper covers right now. It's finishing the code. It's still writing. Maybe I tried to access it too early, and that's why I didn't copy. Now I have the main method. Use code with caution. So good disclaimer. Be using it thankfully for now, not with so much of caution, but that is where your testing of your code becomes important. Making sure that nothing is hanky-panky or it's absolutely defect free for assurance. Okay, there we go. Not a large code, doesn't look too complicated, but I wonder if this will be able to do everything that it says. Wow. Okay, let's see. Okay, just one user action, enter choice. So we are selecting between rock, paper, scissors. Make sure you enter the right exact one. So that way it can be. So possible actions is a list of strings. So I already know that it can be rock, paper, scissors that user can enter. So computer action, the one the computer says, I'm asking you to choose randomly between any of the items in the list. Random dot choice. So since it's a list, I'm choosing between it. Otherwise, if you look at what we did for our numbers out here, we did random dot, where was the other random that we used? Tuk. Just want to go to show the code. Random. So for the code random itself, once you do it, look at all the methods that you can perform in team. There's one that's a random as a this. Let's look at methods. There we go. Random is one. What else did we do? Choose. Where is C? Choice. Okay. There we go. So choices. So you can give multiple choices also that choose between any of these. So instead of one list, you could probably give multiple choices. So let's go to the end. And so computer action will choose one of this, and you don't know what it is. So we're not now what you chose. User action, where is it? I'm taking here, and computer action is this. So we already entered the inputs. Now the logic comes in. What happens if the actions are same? That's the first case that could happen. You chose rock, computer chose rock, and what we're saying is both players selected the same. It's a tie. So that first round is a tie. Now for the same round, if it is not, if user action is rock but computer action is a scissors, then rock smashes scissors, you win. Else paper covers rock, you lose. So this is only two choices that can happen, though rock, scissors, and paper. So it knows that which order: rock smashes scissors, and paper can cover a rock, and scissor can cut paper. So that's the whole. You can't put them in a hierarchical saying this is number one, number two, number three, because someone is number one against someone else, someone is number two against someone else. So that is the difference. So while scissor is able to cut paper, rock is able to smash the scissor. And you have your user action. If it is rock, then you have two other possibilities. If it is not. So if it is scissors, you win. If not this, user action is paper. So only possibility is user, both actions are same, but user action is rock and computer action is something else. What do you do? User action is paper, and then computer action is something else. You do. So you have both, all three covered. Luckily, there are only three in this list. If I had, let's say, 5, 6, this would have become very complicated. But you should still be able to provide a logic and say which is what. But for that, the rule should be available. What is my rule book here? What smashes what covers what cuts what. So that tells me the hierarchy. And all it does is you win, you lose. You can loop through this and say play again 5 times, 10 times, but let's just do one time for now. So let's say I chose paper. I don't know what the computer chose. You chose paper, computer chose rock. So paper covers rock, you win. You could play around with it all day if you want. You versus the computer. All right, team. Questions, please. I know I'm showing a lot of code. I just want you all to get very comfortable with the way coding is happening. So a big question would be, team, um, you know, do you feel more comfortable with Python coding based on what we were doing in the last 2 sessions? I've been teaching Python for over a decade now, but more importantly, are we able to achieve that learning? Because my fundamental goal is, before we get into the topics where it gets a little bit more complicated, what are these foundation level details and how we are able to apply it for small programs? We can now expand it. So we have files and APIs left, team. That should take about an hour or so. We've about an hour into this part of the session. Um, I'll put it, I'll run my timer. Mhm. Let me, oh, we've got so many things here. So let's go just to the timer. If I run the timer here, will it be, yeah, I think, let's see. Countdown seconds, I'll say one, team out here. I'm changing it. Why? Because mm, that's fine. Let's do one. I'll say 1 minute. I can kill it. I'm just testing it for now. Seeing if it's scrolling enough on our screen. Or didn't it work earlier? Oh, it's still 5 seconds. Sorry. Countdown is seconds. I changed the wrong one. It's going 5 times slower, team. My code as of now. Bad. All right, team. So we're getting into a break. I'm just trying to run our code that worked earlier and see if it works for 1 minute first. I'm giving it 5 seconds. Let's do it with 3 seconds. Where is my 55? Why is it not running? Is it printing or it's not? Didn't it do it earlier? We did, right? The only thing we couldn't achieve was count. Oh, this code was working, team, that we did, not the other one. So let's kill that and run this. This was the one I think we took directly from the AI tool, but this was the one we built. We tried to clear, it didn't, but otherwise it was doing everything else, I believe. So 5 seconds, right? So I'm putting it 8 minutes break, team. Let's see. If it's printing, it should automatically go there, the cursor. Is it scrolling? It's not. That is where we wanted to clear the screen. But it's so easy when I'll show you the HTML, and then you can actually take this. You don't have to sit on a notebook or a Python to achieve any of this. You could do it offline. I'll let it run, team, and that's fine. I still have to scroll, but thank you, team. I'm going to pause. Any questions, let me know. There were a few that I got, but most of it was answered. For tic-tac-toe, ChatGPT gave a nice code, is it? Okay, cool. All right. Great, team. We're going into an 8-9 minutes break. We'll come back and we'll resume. I'll stop the recording. So team, welcome back. All right. So we've done some cool stuff so far. Could be much more cooler. Once we get that interest, there's so much you could do. And that was good. We could do some in gaming and coding side. We could learn a lot of new concepts. Let's talk about file handling, team. Now, what is important with file handling is the main concept that not every time your files are there as part of your, what do I say, um, program itself. They could be externally somewhere. So you got to be able to read the CRUD operations. Remember, create, read, update, delete. The basic operations that we do are important. So you are in a position at any time to be able to read a file or write to a file. That's what we're trying to do. But I have a big question for that. If I'm able to do it, access any of my local files from Python. Otherwise, I'll just do it in PyCharm instead of Colab. Can Colab PyCode access my local files? That's a question. So I hope it gives yes, but it requires a few steps since Colab runs in a cloud environment. This is how you can do it. There we go. Import the files module. Oh, okay. Uploaded. Upload your file. Files.upload. Access the uploaded file. Wow. Import drive. This is interesting. Accessing files from your drive. I like the entire content because it's also showing a lot of basic structure to it. The only difference is going to be around, we should try this code team. Why not try it? What do you think? This way, we'll also be able to have files distributed. You should be able to run the same files. If I put it in Drive, we will all have access to the same information. Okay, let's start. Let's do this. So we're doing this using Colab. Of course, if you see it as a Colab document, but otherwise, if it is shared as in a Google Drive, you open with any other format. It's end of the day, it's a text file team. The extension is IPy a notebook. That's how it is able to recognize within Colab. Cool. So that's my import from Google Colab. I'm importing files, and I have the ability to start maybe doing some file operations. Wow, cool. From your local system, the uploaded files will be stored in the uploaded dictionary with file names as key. So let me create a simple text file in my C drive. And we're going to do a lot in Fox's team. But before we go to Fox's and the other projects, I'll just create a folder here, call it 2025. And in this, let me create a simple text file, text document. I'll call it my story one. Okay, automatically .txt extension is there. So I'll just write some of basic things on this. Oh, it's on a different screen. Hello, this is a test of file handling using Google Colab. Hope we can experiment more with it. I in fact prepared what I want to cover within file handling, but a lot of it is being covered through this approach as well. Then we can play around a lot more teams. So I'm creating a story. Let's see if we're able to upload it. We're following the same thing. Great. Let us see what we can do with this piece of text. And regards. And what I also want to say, team, is sorry for the small font. Let me save this. What were the sounds? I got a couple of notifications. I hope everyone is good. All good, team? Can I get a quick hello, hi message? Everyone awake? Everyone active? Recording is on, audio is good, screen is visible. I got only a couple of messages. All good. Okay, great. I got more. Thank you. Let's see. I have option here where I can see attendees and I can sort them based on attention. Because if they're not on the same screen as the GoToWebinar, it'll show up, team, that you're away from your screen. And there's also some good statistics. Just your importance, team, if you get through these sessions a little bit and a couple of more weekends, you will be at a different level. So stay focused, stay interested, we should be good. So I created a file locally. Cool. So now I need something from here, but let's see, what is it that we have uploaded? So uploaded looks like, or let's say my file equals files.upload. What will happen? Oops. Okay, how can I undo this? I'm I'm sure there should be there in the history, team, because I'm logged in at least with my personal account. But I'm not closing this window only because I may lose the content. So I'll keep it open. Let's see this. I just want to delete this section. I accidentally created it. Okay, I don't need the table of contents, so I have a little bit more. Let's run this code. What does it do? And then should I be able to print the files, access the uploaded content? So how am I accessing it? File underscore content equals uploaded what? Okay, that's fine. I'll follow your steps. It's not my file. What was the file name that I created? My story one. Similar, but a file has a story, and the story is very weak. Okay, uploaded my story.txt. Oh, why it doesn't upload it? I'm saying my file, my story.txt. I'm wondering how this will work. Mounting Google Drive. So I can also, so this is an optional step is what I'm guessing. I'll run. There we go. That's nice. Files.upload. So this is a library that we're importing from there's a library called Colab or module. That is where we are importing only specific features called files at the moment. I'm sure Google Colab will have a lot more available. For example, even Drive is an additional import. So depending on what you're using, we're getting them themes. So this is letting me choose a file from my local machine, and it is uploading it to where, team? It's uploading it to my cloud. It's not uploading it um, to anywhere else, into my program at that time. Wow, what happened? I uploaded file underscore content, my story. Let's see. Let's read this issue. Explain error. Most recent call to my file underscore content. Here at my story.txt. You know why? It's my story one.txt. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I wish it did tell me. There we go. Saving my story one.txt to my story one.txt. At least it tells me here. But let's see, key error, my story.txt. What does it say? So this is nice, team. I'm able to take an issue. Did I do try catch so far? I think we should do those. We'll do that. Hypothesis, suggested changes. Wow. Does it? There we go. Change my story.txt to my story one.txt. And that's the only change, team. This is nice. You have a live assistant, and I'm sure even you have so many other features like CoPilot and even Tricentis that I started speaking to one of a senior QV leader who's also participating in this program, and she's looking at a huge SAP and enterprise platform that would love to go AI enabled in the next few months. So what's the roadmap for them? Cool. And team, there was also a question, is this an SDET training? This is right now nothing to do with software testing. It can be applied anywhere, but we will do a little bit of project and orientation around that. I will also do other trainings, which is away from these topics, which will try and get you the latest versions of what is happening within this software test automation tool space and quality engineering overall. Okay, where are we? So we fix this. Let's rerun, team. I talk so much and do a little less. I will create that poll, team. I will need that poll hopefully today. So we'll do it. So, okay, choose files. Let's restart this process. So I'm going to it. It now went to C drive 25, my folder. Wow. Do you see this? To my oh, there we go. Now, do you know the issue, team? Into my Google Colab, which is also, I don't know if it is there in my drive, but look at how we're trying to debug the challenges and issues. I changed the story, but now it says saving my story one dot text. That is my input name to my story one space open brackets and one dot text. Why? Because I rerun this again, it actually there's no more. So it'll do the same thing because this needs to be a different name. So what I'll do is I'm going to change the name, team, to my story two, which is not there in now. Wow. 3, 3. See, in a hurry to run the code and get things, just 3 lines of code, how many things can go wrong? All right, so I'm going to choose my story 3 and that will get uploaded. No more reversions of that, hopefully. Line 3 should also be correct. Thank you. Should I say print? Give me a second, team. Now I know there's another problem. Why? Because I can't keep repeating this way. My file. So what am I doing? I'm taking my file. Why do I have to say, oh, it's going into, okay, here's the thing, team. My file is like a directory, and that is where I believe it is uploading to. I'm going to my notebooks in my Google Drive. I'm trying to see the structure and the way it's organized, team. So is there a way I don't need to change it in each iteration? Because I can't keep reusing the same code. At least I don't need this. Okay, my file is like a folder, team, within which I'm uploading any files that I want. And within that folder, I'm trying to reach for one specific file called my story3.txt. My story3.txt is already there. So if I'm not re-uploading, that story3 is already available with me. Where's my insert gone? You understand what I'm saying? Let me repeat. Each time, otherwise, it's creating a new one. And I have to change the name. So now my story3.txt is already there. Let's see if this works. I'll stop this. I'm not uploading anything. And now I get, and all of this are saying, end of line or new line, end of row, new line. /r is end of that row, team. And then we're adding a new line. Sometimes it could be just a lot of, there's only single lines in this. So what can we do around these files? Let's see. I should also be able to write back into this. I should be able to maybe count for a word to be repeating. Let's see what word is there that is repeating. There's text, there is V. How many times does V repeat in this? Word repeat in a file. We also want to do something like count number of lines in a file. And team, if you want to be a good AI someone who's good at prompt engineering using AI tools, improve your typing skills. The only way you can do it is keep doing it. Type as much as you can. Use less mouse, use more keyboard. Things should be good. Count number of lines in a file. So these are two things I want to do. So how do we know where a new line is? How do we know, if we are able to find a specific word? The most important is I need to um, split each line. So what I need to do, team, I already have a file. So I'll say for each line, I'm assuming in file underscore content, print line. Let's see what this does. It is so easy, right, for us to get tempted and take this. We're doing the first part to celebrate here into our AI assistant and let it help us. Let's do this though. I'm not re-uploading team because it's already exists. Oh no, I have to re-upload. But it is, can I, okay. I don't think I have to say in Colab notebook. I hope it understands based on my history. But new uploads using files to upload. That's what I was using. Parameter. It's temporary. It's not liking what it's doing. Hmm. Let me see some comments in the chat, and we're getting their team. Can we read this file from Colab and count the words? That is correct. Where I'm stuck is each time I'm having to change the name, team, because my story 3. Now let's assume that I have this and I run this. This was a useless answer from the prompt. I should choose files. If I'm choosing a file, that is when my files is taking it because it's temporary. So it's my story 3.txt became my story space 3 because already one, it's not replacing that file. And hence, so unless I kill the entire instance and reload it, maybe it'll overwrite. But as of now, upload is just not overwriting. It is creating a new file with a new name. And that's where the execution would happen. So what we can do is change it for now each time we're trying. That's the only thing that I'm able to do. And here, for so choose files. Now my story 4 is unique. Print line. What did it print? It printed the, I think we should use split and strip, team. What are the words? We should get the number of words for it. But right now, all it printed are maybe characters in each line. I don't know what it printed. Why would it have? I have no idea what it's done, team. How do we move further? Hello, this is test. Tick, 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 tick. What's all these numbers got to do with my story 4 dot text? What did I do for line in file underscore content? For each line, we're printing the line. Let me use the assistant team because somewhere I'm having an issue both with the file names and the methods. But what am I doing here? Let's get a create. Copy this, put it here. No, it copied more than what I want or copied everything that I don't want. How many times does a word repeat in a file? Count word occurrences. So there's a file name that we're giving in Word. So that's fine. We can give that. Wow, it's giving. I think it started recognizing that I'm a poor programmer in terms of how I'm progressing with it. So it's making it more explicit. So it's saying, guy, listen, you got the, this is what you want. Here are the arguments. Here is what this will return. Is this clear? Now let's look at something next. It's a very funny team. And that's fine with me when though I'm such a seasoned programmer and playing like an architect level role. There's a lot of discovery team, especially when you're exposed with new technologies. Your ability to learn and grasp and be able to debug yourself, your skills, and move on is very important. So count equals 0. Open file name are so nice as file. For line in file, this is a key function that I knew that I want to do. Split the line into words. So what is line? It's going to, and that is where when I printed the line, I got confused. So what I'm doing now is forget printing the line. And I'm going to say words equals line dot split. I don't really need to convert it to lower. I'm not sure why it did it because I'm only counting the number of words in this case. And once I'm doing for word, oh, so it's printing each word. That is what it thought I wants to do. No, I don't want to print each word. What I want to, so there's a count that I want. Starting with 0. For each word, oh, there's a count itself. So I can say count, word count. Plus equals, yeah, I understood what it's doing, team. But it's still doing lower words dot count. Do I need what word? What is words? You see, okay, where is word coming in? Oh, oh, the word, word count. So the actual word that's coming in, team. How many times a word repeats? So um, repeat word equals, let's say, what was it? V was something I was looking at. And that is where I think we're trying to lower it because we don't know if it's uppercase or not. So, and that's fine. I can use that logic. Word dot, no, it's not word. It is my repetitive word that I'm counting dot lower. I'm going to take a lower of it. So that way, it doesn't matter if I enter an upper V or a lower V, it'll always do it. So let's say, even if I give it V, it should give me the same. So now I gave a word, I have a file, I want to, so I'm repeating this for each line, split the words, and I'm counting how many items are in this new list that comes out called words. And split is splitting where. Do I need to provide where I'm splitting the word? I think you can also say strip it and give it a character team, but this is fine. And out of this print, I'll print word count. F of the word rep word repeats word count times in file underscore content dot name. Will I have that? Let's see. File underscore content dot name. Will it be there? Dot capitalize, ends with find. That's fine. I don't want to print the entire thing till here. And let's run this team. We're not taking an input. I'm just using a hard-coded value. I'll say choose files. My story 4 won't work. This won't work. Kill this. My story 5. Make this 5. Only challenge with the overwriting team that we observed. And that's okay. We'll figure out. Choose files. Every time I'm having to choose file, can't I give it a path? Files.upload. Maybe I should be able to give it a path. Words line dot split. Something as an issue here. Line dot split. What happened? Where did it occur? Here, line 15. Int object has no attribute split. This is the problem. It is reading as an int object and I don't know why. Absolutely no idea. Hmm. Primarily, you're trying to read a file, write a file, and I think I'll let me repeat this file operations with because I need to do API also. Even that requires files. It's not an issue here. It's just that you remember when we printed the file, it readed it as all words, file underscore content. I don't know why, or all numbers. And I don't, and there were many more numbers than the line numbers. So it's not characters in line. Print line words line dot split. Okay, anyone? Let me look at chat messages, or we'll need to jump to APIs team. Verify if the file is already present, then only upload. Yeah, so uh, sure, that's a good idea, Chinmay, at least for the upload issue. But I'm also facing an issue here, line dot split. I don't know what it's saying. Int object has no attribute split. Why is there a int object in file underscore content? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the code that was given by here, the whole thing, and see if it works. What is it doing? Okay, it's just a function, file name. Where am I giving file name? Now that the execution happened, tick, 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 word, same thing. Okay, don't think too much. Let's try the execution. Otherwise, let's get into APIs. We haven't done much of it. Where are we? All right. Function defined. We'll use a file name and word. I don't know if I'm able to send my story file.txt. Will it take it as a file name? Does it refer to my file? Equal to files dot. So let's see what's there in files dot. There am I calling the function. Enter the file name. Enter the word to count. File name and word. So That's the file name that I want to enter. Okay, if it's there, what's there in file? Upload underscore file. What is that different? So there's the download, there's upload underscore file, and view. That is what it's giving me here from that files. Why? Because here there's no import. Is it giving me the entire code? Why don't I need to import files from Google Colab? That's fine. So I'll enter this. It's going to do this and print. Count is what it is doing. Is everything is same. Let's run this. My storyfy.txt. Assuming that is already there because I didn't close the instant. Enter the word to count. V. The word V appears 2 times in the file. Perfect. It does work, team. Where does it not work in my code or our code? I am exactly not sure. But it's exactly the same logic. Line dot lower dot split. So will this work with line dot lower dot split? And we're not re-uploading this. So I'll use the same file. In file name, that's all I give, right? File name. It's always my storyfy.txt. Let's see if it does anything. Nah. And lower is brackets, sorry. That's the syntax error here. Lower is also method. We repeat 0 times in a file. And that's a problem. So it runs now, but it is not giving me the right data. So why would this code not do while the other one do is a great question, team. And maybe you have access to this Python notebook, right? So you should, the Colab notebook, you should be able to debug, team, because enter the file name, my file dot file dot text word d, let's say. It doesn't have that file name anymore. That's a problem, team. And that's okay. What I'll do is in the next session, I'll cover some of this file handling, and let's do it on the PyCharm or VSS team, Visual Studio Code, VSC. Right now, I thought let's at least do API. API should be something, uh, definitely we need file handling, but at the same time, this new section is here. File handling is done. Undo. Okay. I hope it won't delete everything in the section if I do this. All right, where are we? A little confused with Colab. This is a new section, right? So I'll just move this downwards. There we go. Okay, why is it giving me this? I don't need that. API. Are we good to get going, team? Continue with API automation using Python? Or do you think it's too much for the day? You can let me know in the chat and we'll get going. So files is pending, team, and that is something we will do as we progress, but let's see. So I also need to speak about, let me bring that document API doc. Where is that? Google Drive, Google Drive. Let me search. It should be in the other folder. API. Just a quick document and then API for beginners. This is the one. Yeah. So team, I'll just give a 3-4 minutes overview, not too long, on APIs and what they're doing and why is it important in today's AI ML world to be able to automate APIs, team. So API is nothing but look at it like two parties. In this case, there's no human involved. There are two machines talking to each other. One machine acts as someone who's requesting. So they send a request. The other machine is basically processing that request and sees if that request is valid and if it has a valid response to give back and gives a response. So there's always a request that is sent and a response that you get. So at any point, if you look at it's a transaction, team, that's happening. You give something, you get something. And it could be as simple as you just get a weather data or something, or you could send in information with your username, password, and authentication, and have it log into your mailing system or your e-commerce system or anything, or your banking and so on. What is important is with APIs, the primary objectives that we're trying to do are CRUD activities, team. You're creating new records in a database using APIs or reading it, updating or deleting them. And that is exactly what you do with these inbuilt methods or actions using your HTTP protocol. So it is still done using HTTP protocol, and your endpoint is primarily an URL because it's a hypertext text transfer protocol. So, for example, I could do it for any website and see if that URL is working or not. And you are doing an action like reading from a URL, and you would get some, you use get as a method to be able to read. Whenever you want to write or update into um, an existing database using an API, you use the methods called put, post, or patch. The primary difference is post is used many times, team, where a new record is created, makes duplicate if repeated with different ID. What does it mean? Though it's the ID is the same, say each time some user is logging in. So for each time they're logging in, we want it to add a new record into the transaction that user logged in. So we're able to look back and say how many times user has logged in, what are the patterns, make some good analysis, analytics out of it, and so on. Put basically says that I have an existing record and I want to update it. Like someone wants to update their address or password in the files, and we use that. And patch is basically saying that I don't want to update the entire record. It could have many fields with it. I just want to update specific keys and values. You would notice, team, that we will use JSON, JavaScript object notation to a large extent. The reason we would do that is sometimes to be able to send information, you need to also send some data. And you could send it as an XML format or various other formats, but JSON is very popular in what we're doing these days. Screen okay? Recording okay? Are we going good? Anyone? Sanjay says, I tried and it worked for me. You want to show that later, Sanjay, when we look at it? Let me finish a little bit on APIs and then we'll come to you. Okay, thank you. All right, so what are we doing here, team? And then you have, let's say, okay, here's a good website, records.in. I've used it like ample number of times. It does work still. It's a website where it primarily gives you something to test, to try how a real API works. So example, this is an application where a user can log in, log out, and get some information. So at the end of it, all of these are called endpoints, team. So your endpoint is where you send a request to. Depending on the type of method that you're using, you would get a response back and a data back. So sometimes you could send, so 200 is a good response. Okay, saying everything is good. I found that single user. But if you send something where the user does not exist, then you get a different response. So this response code becomes very important. So you have an input, you have a method, then you get your response code. It could be one of these 5 series, team. And you can also get an output data of JSON format. You'll get the entire body of it and header information that you can play around with. So you can look at, not necessarily, let's say there's a list of the entire, you look at this, team, it's just like how we created a dictionary object in Python earlier. And this is nothing but a JSON file which is available for everyone. So this JSON format, once you give it as a .json, you are able to read it within a Python or any other programming language. So it is the same concept where you have a key and a value, a key and a value, a key and a value, and they're nested. So in page 1, under data, the ID one is this. So maybe I just want from first page and ID 3, get me some information, and it would give me all this information back. So you can go and get specific information from your request. So my request is my input, my response is my output. My response, as soon as I get it, the quickest way to find out is by this 3-digit code, team. That's your status code. And the status code has 5 series and series of 5 that you can use. One with starting with 100, and that's giving you general information. It's not returning anything correctly or anything significant. 200 series is when you have a success, and there are different types of successes, and that is what you will get in this. 300 is that specific server which has to handle your API request is unable to do it, and it is redirecting, or rather it is asked to be redirected to some other service, and that service is picking it up, and maybe that will return 404 errors and so on, where from a client side you're typing in a wrong URL, something that doesn't exist, or trying to get a wrong user which is not there in the system. That is where you'll face this issue, team. 500 is where there's an issue at the server side. Client is the one sending the request. Server is the one giving us the response. And there's a server side. The server is down, or bad gateways and so on come there. RESTful API. Let's look at this link. This is a nice link too. If you doc, let me put it also into here, so you have access to it. Where am I? Didn't I? Okay, go. All right. Big website has got all about REST API and its tutorials. Basically, REST API is saying that it's a representational state transform team. So transfer, it's talking about how you take one state to the other. You don't need to necessarily end with one API call. You're doing a CMs. And here's a simple information, like example, all the different codes within 100 series, it means 200 series with success, 200 being okay. But if you're creating a new resource using a post or a push and so on, created, or you're sending some indicates the request that has been received but not completed, it's typically used in log running requests. So where this batch processing, so it's been accepted, it'll get created later. So it's not an immediate done. So batch processing is you do it once in a day or once in a specific cron job, You set a time for it, and so on, team. So its link has a good representation of, description of all the errors that you'll get. For example, your famous 404, this was not found. 403 is forbidden. Basically, you're not logged in and you're going to members only page. So, and difference between 401 and this. All right, cool. So that's fundamentally the basics of APIs, team. And Postman also came up with Postman AI. That's something you need to look at. And it is a very simple tool, both desktop and web-based, as a SaaS solution where you can go ahead and look at each API, have them make those calls and look at these responses. There's a lot you can do with, okay, so pip install requests. I think for this, do I need again, is Colab, is it a challenge? Let's see, it will be a challenge, Colab. Okay, where am I here? All right, I'm here. Let's add some new content code. It's slow. I have a nice set of library of code, team, that I can show you already in my PyCharm if this doesn't work or any issues here. Should we write all the code or should I just show you some of the API basics through this code walkthrough? Let's see, depending on what we do. The only reason being is, do I need to import pip install? Okay. What am I trying to need to install requests before importing in Colab? That's more like a Google question, but this should, AI tool should be able to answer with both, team. Okay, so I can start with import request, then that's good. So let's do some basics, team, in that case. So let's do, okay, there are two codes created. Let me delete one. So import requests, that is primarily, so this is all loaded for us, luckily. I don't need to do pip install in this case. If you're doing it in a local machine, make sure you have to do pip install, team. So at least where on the cloud this is hosted, we are able to do this. So let's take any URL, team. So I'll say this, Google is the simplest URL that you can get, right? So I'll say https://google.com. All right. And now let me do another URL similar to this and say this is .com. Hopefully it's not there. And all you're doing is a simple one, team. So I'll say there's a result one. And when I do something like request.get G1, all right, thank you for code completion. I'm using the get method to just get these, team. Now, once I get the results, I'm able to print the status code, or I'm able to say, this is my status code. Okay, R1 status code is comma R1 status code. Same thing with this. There are a lot of other information that you could do, team. Let's say, let's do this and then we'll play around. So what am I doing? As soon as I send this, I have to get status code. That's the most important thing. Then I know in which series it is. Depending on that, I can do a lot more actions. This is at the moment an endpoint URL, team, but you'll see as we go to different applications, the different types of endpoint URLs which we can use. We'll do that. Ting, 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 ting. What am I doing here? One status code. Perfect. Let's run this. Connection error. There is nothing wrong with my code, team, for sure. There's something, see, this is the code. Is anyone else able to do the same? I mean, achieve this? It gave me as simple as this. Let's see if this works. So I'll create a new code. I'm taking exactly what it gave. We can build on it once there. Oh, wow. So why didn't it? Where did it fail? Which line? No idea why it failed. That's fine. So I got that. Let me do some more response status code. So print statement is what I wanted to give. Ting, ting, ting. Let's get these two as well. G1, G2. So I don't need one anymore. This is R1. This is R1. Status code. Not printing it here. I'm printing it somewhere else. That's fine. Now something issue definitely with this team, with the second URL. But why should it have an issue with it? It's just a bad URL. This is fine. Now what if I give a bad URL? I didn't even put try except yet to be able to handle any issues. See, let me put this in try except. Exception as E, print E. So if there's an, oops, what we're trying to do, team, these are all runtime errors that are coming. And in this case, there are only a couple of endpoints that we're doing. R2.status code. Let's do this. This is the right code. So I'm printing R1 here. I'm printing R2 here. Let's give one more. R3. Let me give a valid URL. Let's see what ITLN does. It may take it to a redirection. Not sure. Let's see. So I have R1, R2, R3, and there's an exception. So I'm going to try each of these lines, team. This is what try and except means. When an exception occurs, right, it'll come straight out here instead of throwing an error. So you can continue to say something like print at the end of the code. You have a lot of steps, few last steps to do. Now, when we're doing this, team, if there is an earlier, if there was no try except, without that, those two, this step would never get printed because it had an issue at specific line, it'll fold right after that. Now, with this, what happens is, as soon as it hits an issue, it'll come out of that block. So if it hits an issue at line 6, it'll come out, it'll not go to line 7, but it'll go straight out of the block into the next steps. You could have multiple other things to do. You don't want your program to end because of some issue that has happened somewhere. So it gave me 200, it gave me 406, and it gave me max retries exceeded with URL caused by name resolution error. So it went to try and find this, but all I wanted was a status code. It should have got me a status, which it didn't, and that's fine. So you are able to do it through Python request, but let me show you the codes that I wanted to team. With what we have achieved so far, I don't think we need to write anything, I mean, everything from scratch. I'll just PyCharm quickly, get it here, and show you a few things that we could do. So a few programs, team, that I been writing, and I thought we will do a better version of the same in today's tutorial as well. Let me go through them. It should be a good read, and then let's start implementing them in projects, especially with the assignments that I'll start sharing with you. You should be able to use this code to make some progress, team, or even the AI assistant. It's 406. You're right, Siri. That's exactly what I got. Import requests, G1, G2, print R1 status code. Yeah, it Sanjay, it worked for you. For some of it's working the code. Sometimes something is going wrong with me, especially when I'm giving an incorrect URL, but that's fine. So here's my PyCharm team, and there's a project called Python project. Just a few API codes that I was doing. This is exactly what we were seeing. So there's you're getting a request sent to google.com. You have overall result that you can print. You just the status code or cookies or headers, and you can also print the time taken team for this response. Let's do that. It's usually in milliseconds because API responses are faster, and a lot of milliseconds is result one dot. System is hanging team, especially the browser side. And responsive. Response one dot. Anyone remember what is the time elapsed? But I don't think it is elapsed itself. Time dot elapsed. Let me ask PyCharm quickly. API time elapsed code. Time request dot get. Ah no, come on. There should be an inbuilt one also. This is basically saying calculating it ourselves. There's an inbuilt one. Anyways, just about the time. You can also measure the time team of how long it's taking, and that's a good one when you're doing any performance testing on them. So I have two APIs, one or endpoints, and it's doing the same thing. Print at the end, parameterize, and this is what we wanted to do, team, as a activity. And a lot of what you'll see next are around this. Let's run this. Even if it doesn't run, I'm not too interested. I just want to do code walkthroughs. So you get a good perspective. We can take that and rebuild on them. Okay, what does this do? Ting, ting, ting. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Process finished. I didn't use any try except anywhere because the code is fine. And when you're debugging and still creating your code team, do not use try except of untested code. You want all the types of errors to come, so you resolve them. Then you know how to handle if there are more additional ones. Okay, response 200, response 404. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted, team. If that is an unrealized URL, let it come up with, actually the URL should be recognized. Just the sub one is what. So if the URL itself is bouncing back, it's not. You don't get a 404. Sorry. All right, so this is a get team, but what if you want to do any post? What are we trying to do here? Parameterize the input of a request, JSON inputs, output back into analytics, externalize the data, externalize input, modularize functionize functions for tasks, make it work for multiple endpoints using CSV, type of test, smoke test, regression, PyTest framework for API. So you can do a lot of testing and automation, team. There are two things. One, we're going to use these API Python program to automate our AI agents. A lot of your AI agents and chatbots will take APIs. So you can create an external layer and use these two additional tools as backend to be able to give you what you want. So what are we doing here? So I have a base URL. Look at it, Tim. This is very important for you to understand specific inputs. There is a base URL and there's a path. Even in request.in, where is that? Yeah, yeah. Browser is too slow, team. Give me a second, please. Want to go a quick mute. All right, sorry, I'm back. So team, if you look at this website, it's got also an interface which is UI based for what API it's built. There's a lot of documentation that happens, and this is a good visible documentation as to how each API is working. So the main URL is recres.in, and if you see, there is an additional path that is being given. If you click on it, and if you see at the bottom left, there's recres.in/API users to. That is the entire endpoint team. So there is a URL, there is a path from that you append to the URL, and then you reach the entire endpoint. That's exactly what we're doing in our Python code here. So you have a base URL, and then you have your path, and your endpoint becomes that base URL plus path. What am I doing? I'm making all of my API inputs as parameters. My method is also saying, I'm saying it is a get method, and my payload is none. There's no payload in this case. You can give a JSON data. Team, too much of cough. I've been speaking nonstop for a bit. Give me a second. I'll go on mute for 10 seconds. Have some water. Sorry, I'm back. All right, team. What was I saying? Now, JSON, JavaScript object notation, team. It's basically a widely, nicely accepted universal format. And especially when you want applications to talk between themselves, you have things like XML or CSV, databases, flat files, and JSON is a similar one. We have a JSON which is exactly like a key value pair team. So there's a key and there's a value to it, a key and a value. And you can easily go to any value by just saying which key are you looking at within that JSON data. This is a JSON data that is existing hard coded here. You can also have it as a JSON file team, externalized. I think it should be there. But let's see what remaining we do. So here I'm saying request one is I'm sending the first endpoint, printing the status code. That's all we're doing. You could get any other details that you want for each of them, team. Look at google.com, what all it gave as a response. You will see, and if you do the same, for example, in cnn.com and so on, it'll also give you the highlights team. You could further say, I want all headings or so on to be able to zero out. What else are we doing? Great. So one of the first simplest tests or verifications that you want to do is verify. Let's say you expect 200 out of it, and you're saying it's a pass if it meets, or if you're expecting a different one, you're verifying. So all of this information, what is this JSON data? Where did it come from? I basically use request.in, the same one, and it's probably one of the um yeah, 2_j. What was that? Let's see the endpoint for it. R2. Where is R2? Oh, it's a post. Same endpoint, but this time I'm posting. See, in the get, I'm just getting the same endpoint, but just getting it. There's nothing I'm doing. But in the next one, I'm doing a post team, and here I'm sending J1. So remember, we had this input data, and my endpoint is page 2. So let's look at page 2. I think this is the one. Sorry, trying to catch my breath. All right, what are we doing here? So this is the entire data that is coming, team, when you execute this. And you're sending in to the post method a JSON data. And I think that is the simple verifications that we're doing with it. J2 is a different set of data, and that's what we're sending to verify what happens with it. Something about pandas I would have introduced here, but this definitely will have to play around, team. Why we do pandas and why it is important. The reason we were doing is, I'll just walk through, team, very simple, so that way you know what we are getting into. Pandas come in with inbuilt libraries, team. So let's say I have data like this. Okay, my data by itself is right now a dictionary, and it's got two sets. It's got cars and it's got, let's say, number of passings. So when I use pandas and convert it into something called as a panda or panda data frame, it becomes like a two-dimensional array, team. And it knows what rows, what columns I can choose based on those indexes, very similar to it. But you've got a lot of inbuilt features, team, where you can have a CSV file and you could read that entire CSV file into a panda, because CSV is also a two-dimensional matrix at the end of it. It's got one sheet, rows and columns. That is what you're going to take into each panda frame. You can get n dimensions also, but even with sticking with dimensions, you're able to get there. Now, what am I doing here? My file, test case ID, location, my file. Okay. I'm giving a simple CSVs out here like API.csv. What do I want to do with it? It's this a comma separated, team. I'm giving test case ID, a base URL, a path to it, a method that I want to execute, a payload into it. What is my expected status? And then I'm gonna get an actual status, the time it took, and the body or any other details from the response. So my API.csv will have the inputs. And when I run it, so these are just three inputs. Let's say I can have hundreds or thousands of API endpoints for a large organization, and we're running all of them. That becomes very useful for you, team. When the execution is done, I want the same things to come with results, where it gives me details like 201 and I got 201.0. So this is an important one where you change the actual status to text before you, because this is taking it as a number. So if you do a verification, it may fail. But luckily it didn't in this case. Maybe I text converted it. So it's saying pass, where it's passing, where it may fail or not executed, and so on. So the logic of the code is trying to work on these files, team. I'm taking that input as an API.csv, where I have all the information as there. And here I'm saying my test case for go through each row in this maxr. Maxr is basically in my Panda data frame. I have an option to display the maximum number of rows. So since it's a CSV file, it knows the number of rows, and depending on the number of rows, you iterate through each row and say for the first row, what is the test case ID, what is the base, what is the path, combine them into endpoint, get the method, get the pay. And depending on what the method is, I should be able to execute, team. I should be able to change the payload. So that is what we were trying to create here in Pandas. Functions lambda is nothing that critical, but since it's available here, let me quickly show you. Uh, you can have a function that does a lot of things, team. Sometimes you have functions that have multiple lines of code, complex logic, and so on. But there's sometimes functions which are just a single line of code. So instead of using def keyword to create, we can use simple lambda keyword. Look at this highlighted text, for example. In this case, I'm saying that lambda a is a plus 10. So a is going as input, whatever is there to the left side of the colon, right side of the column is coming as the output. The same here, I'm sending three inputs and I'm getting one output. So when I say print x, it is actually just doing the print of 5 plus 10. So it is adding 10 to whatever we send and giving it. So instead of defining a function which is still reusable, you can just do a lambda at any point. So that's primarily what it is. In certain situations, use it. But look at this key thing here, team. What is this doing? Start kit. So these are basically arguments. You don't know how many arguments you're going to send. So you're saying the youngest child is kids and 2. So here, second, so what you're doing is you're sending 3 names, team. Your function does not have to have a set number of names. It can have 0 to n number. And when you don't know how many you need to send as input, you just send saying that star arguments or star kids. And what it does is, as an input, you can send any number of kids. It doesn't stop you. You should be able to access till that extent, know how many kids you've sent, and then be able to refer to any data. Just how your functions and lambdas can be further simplified around that. Switch case, I think we saw what it does, and we saw something similar on weekdays or weekends. Try except is something that I wanted to show you. I believe we got a chance, but let me see. Any other questions while I'm showing you this code walkthrough for now? Can these sections be covered in next section instead of having the hurrying through now? Yes, I will do that. I'm not really hurrying through, just giving a synopsis of how we're going to use them. Can we use spreadsheets instead of CSV files here? Yes, we should be able to. So the same thing, instead of .csv, you're trying to .xls or .xlsx. A lot of organizations shy away from that Excel kind of dependency, and that is where CSV is universally accepted. It's got no licensing platform to be able to work with. You can just open it in any file. But yes, you can read Excel a lot, plenty of it. We will do it in Excel as well going forward. This is the coolest one for try except. What is it? If it fails, so you try a code. If it fails, then you print this. So here, all we're doing, I have two numbers 0 and 10. I'm trying to divide. If I do this, it'll throw me a runtime error, team. So I commented it and I put it in a try block. So it'll still throw an error. So it won't go to could do. It'll come straight to print an exception occurred. So the easiest way to try this is if I comment this and I right click run it, you would notice that the last 2 lines won't ever come to the end in this case. But once because it never went to the line 8, it failed at line 6 itself. And it's a fatal failure. So your same thing, you've taken that same line and put it in line 9. Now the difference is, even if it's a failure, I'll continue the remaining part of the code. That's all it says. So it failed here. What? Print K. Oh, it couldn't print K. So it went till here, but then this is not part of the try. So if I put a try again for this, you should be able to do that too. Okay, why does it say except is dashed underline to broad exception? So it's saying go specific. The types of exceptions are important, team. And as you write, you want each exception to be handled by itself. And that's what we will do by saying if it is of types and so, then what do we do and all that. Okay, API test framework. What is this? Here's where we are going a little bit more deeper. Let's take this through in the next session, team. We're already towards the end of today's planned time, but there's a lot to achieve. But these are nice codes where everything is in my CSV, my execution is done. I have nice methods where I have all my actions in a match. So where I'm matching it with, if it's get, do this, if it's post, do this, if it's put, delete, do nothing for now, but we can add the code. And then you have your basic code that goes through and iterates through everything. I think mostly ready, this code is. Let's take that into action, put it into some kind of a project, and we'll play around from next session. Team, I've come to an end for today, but let me know if you have further questions on what we're doing. Write to me, and please make sure that you are all part of the membership before you join into the next session, because it's only for members and you may not be able to join live as well. So if there are any questions on signing up and so on, you can reach me from today to next week. Write to me. I've not got to emails yet. I'll respond back to everyone later today. Assignments for the weekday, let me send it as an email, team. You'll get your assignments tomorrow morning. And I want it to be in such a way that you can also be able to submit it back and we can review it when we start the next session. Can we add breakpoints in Colab for debugging? Good question, Sanjay. We should be able to. See, once they've given a IDE for us to play, all these basic points should be covered. Even in fact, I was also thinking, unless there's an input, it doesn't come to a debug stop. So we should be able to. I will. So, and again, team, all of these recordings will go to the channel, at least even today's session, hopefully, or I'll put it into the membership portal and share it with you. So, and what was that about membership? I've explained it in the first half, Thumpy. So once you go through the video, you'll see. Just start the video once I share it back with you, and you should be able to look at it. I'll see you all next week, team, next Saturday. And thank you all for sticking on for 3-4 hours every day. It's really interesting. I've also enjoyed it. It was really exciting. I'll see you back in a week's time or less than. But expect an email, check for an email from me, and we'll take it from there. Thank you all. Have a blessed rest of your weekend. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you all.